If you're a diehard Browns fan and love breaking down the game like we do, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a blitz. The Cleveland Browns find themselves in a familiar position early in this NFL season, hanging on to a defensive identity that has become their saving grace. And at the heart of that identity, of course, is Myles Garrett, the defensive end who has not only anchored this line, but also given opposing offensive coordinators nightmares week after week. Through the first 3 weeks of the season, Garrett ranks second in the league in sacks, sitting at 4 total, just half a sack behind Rashawn Gary of the Green Bay Packers. That kind of dominance is not new for Garrett, but the Browns are realizing more than ever that they'll need his continued brilliance if they want to keep stacking wins and build towards something meaningful this year. What's fascinating about Garrett's start isn't just the numbers themselves. It's the way he's forcing opponents to adapt entire game plans around him. Kevin Stefanski, the Browns head coach, put it in perspective when he explained how every team comes into a matchup with Cleveland knowing they have to find a way to deal with number 95. Sometimes that means sliding protection his way, sometimes that means leaving a tight end in to chip him, or even having a running back hover in the backfield as an extra body to slow him down. None of it seems to matter. Garrett keeps finding ways to create pressure, whether that's collapsing the pocket himself or opening lanes for his teammates. That's what makes him different. He doesn't just win his individual matchups. He tilts the field for the entire defense. Stefanski went as far as to suggest that Garrett is, in his eyes, a defensive player of the year every single season just because of the gravity he carries. Think about that. It's not often a coach will talk about one of his own players in such permanent, definitive terms, but that's how much respect Garrett has earned. And it's not only about raw production. It's about presence. You feel him on every snap. Even if he doesn't end up with the sack, his fingerprints are all over the play. That kind of disruptive force is why Cleveland believes they can go toe-to-toe with anyone in the league if their defense keeps firing. The Week 3 win against the Green Bay Packers was a perfect example of how the defense operates when things are clicking. The Browns walked away with a gritty 13-10 victory, and the defensive line played arguably its best game of the young season. 5 sacks on Jordan Love told the story, with Garrett contributing half a sack, but creating countless pressures that forced hurried throws, broken plays, and missed opportunities for Green Bay. It wasn't just Garrett doing the damage, though. The entire defensive line stepped up, taking advantage of the attention that number 95 commanded and winning one-on-one battles all night long. That's exactly the formula Cleveland needs to repeat if they're going to keep pulling out wins in tight, physical games. Garrett's presence on the line is like a magnet. The more defenders the offense assigns to stop him, the more openings it creates for his teammates. Stefanski emphasized that point when he talked about how much confidence the coaching staff has in the rest of the defensive line. With Garrett drawing double teams, there are always opportunities elsewhere. That might be a one-on-one situation for another pass rusher, or maybe the freedom to run a creative stunt that confuses an offensive line. When you add depth to that equation, rotating fresh legs into the game so the pass rush doesn't wear down, the Browns can keep the pressure relentless for 4 full quarters. That's how they suffocated Green Bay, and that's the model moving forward. What makes this story compelling is the way it ties into the broader narrative of Cleveland football. For years, the Browns have struggled with inconsistency at quarterback and questions on offense. But what they have found is a defensive identity that can travel. Defense works in bad weather, defense works on the road, and defense gives you a shot even when the offense is sputtering. Myles Garrett is the centerpiece of that philosophy. He doesn't just rack up sacks. He embodies the toughness and persistence this franchise has been searching for. That's why every week, the question isn't whether Garrett will make an impact. It's how much he'll swing the game in Cleveland's favor. Looking deeper, you can see how Garrett's dominance ripples through the locker room. Younger players get inspired when they watch how much attention he commands. Veterans feed off his energy when he comes roaring off the edge and forces a quarterback into an errant throw. It raises the standard for the entire defensive unit. That collective effort was on full display in the Packers game, where not only did the line shine, but the secondary held firm, capitalizing on the chaos up front. Football is a complementary sport, and when one star player elevates those around him, the whole team benefits. That's the intangible Myles Garrett brings to the table, beyond the stats that jump off the screen. Of course, the Browns know they can't become complacent. 4 sacks through 3 weeks is impressive, but it's the consistency over a 17-game season that defines elite defenders. Garrett has dealt with injuries in the past and knows the grind of the NFL season is unforgiving. If Cleveland wants to maximize his impact, they'll have to keep him healthy, manage his snaps wisely, and lean on the depth Stefanski praised. Having a deep rotation not only keeps Garrett fresh for critical moments, but also prevents the defense from collapsing if he gets worn down. The Browns can't afford to be overly reliant on just one player, even if that player is a generational talent. The challenge gets real in Week 4 as the Browns face the Detroit Lions, a team that has quietly become one of the more balanced and physical squads in the NFC. Detroit's offensive line is one of its strengths, and they'll be fully aware of the Garrett problem. Expect them to double him, chip him, and do everything in their power to slow down his rush. But that's where the Browns need to lean into the formula. If Garrett can't get home, his presence still has to free up his teammates to make plays. That's the chess match of football, one superstar setting the board for everyone else. If Cleveland can replicate what worked against Green Bay, they'll have a real chance to contain the Lions' offense and walk away with another critical win. There's also a bigger picture conversation happening here. When you look at elite pass rushers across the league, guys like Micah Parsons in Dallas, Nick Bosa in San Francisco, or TJ Watt in Pittsburgh, you see how much one dominant defender can reshape a franchise's identity. Garrett belongs in that same conversation, but for the Browns, he's not just another name in the elite category. He's their foundation, the rock they lean on when the offense is inconsistent or when the margin for error is razor thin. His ability to keep Cleveland competitive every single week is why the organization views him as indispensable, and why fans know that as long as number 95 is healthy, this team has a fighting chance. The narrative of the 2023 season is still unfolding, but one thing is already clear. The Browns will go as far as their defense takes them, and their defense will go as far as Myles Garrett leads them. He doesn't need to win every individual battle or rack up record-setting sack totals, though he's more than capable of doing both. What he does need to do is keep forcing offenses to account for him, keep setting the tone at the line of scrimmage, and keep elevating those around him. If he can maintain that standard, then Cleveland can dream a little bigger this year. They can believe in meaningful games in December, maybe even in January. And for a franchise that has been searching for stability for decades, having a player like Garrett at the center of it all feels like a gift they can't afford to take for granted. So as the Browns prepare for Detroit and the weeks ahead, the formula is straightforward, even if the execution is anything but. Keep Garrett dominant, keep the line fresh, and let the defense dictate games. That's how they beat the Packers. That's how they'll have to beat the Lions. And if Myles Garrett continues to wreak havoc at the level we've seen so far, that's how Cleveland can finally build a season that fans will remember for years to come. Enjoying the content so far? Smash that like button and drop your take in the comments. We want to hear what you think about the Browns this season. Explosive news just dropped in the NFL world, and it's sending shockwaves across every corner of the league. Cleveland Browns fans, hold on to your seats, because the team just made a move that nobody saw coming. Kevin Stefanski, the head coach who has been praised for his steady hand and strategic mind, has made a decision that is immediately being called one of the boldest and perhaps most controversial in recent NFL history. Reports are swirling that the Browns have officially cut one of their key players, a move that could reshape the team's trajectory for the entire season. The NFL universe is already buzzing with reactions, speculation, and a healthy dose of outrage. Sources close to the team indicate that this wasn't a knee-jerk reaction or a simple cap space maneuver. This is Stefanski sending a statement, and whatever that statement is, it's loud, it's clear, and it's shaking the league to its core. The decision to part ways with this player, who has been a cornerstone in Cleveland's strategy, comes amid whispers of locker room tensions and subtle disagreements over the direction of the team. Analysts are now debating endlessly on social media. Was this about performance, personality clashes, or a larger tactical pivot that Stefanski is planning? Fans are torn. Some are calling it an unforgivable betrayal, pointing to the countless hours, touchdowns, and standout performances the player contributed. Others, however, are cautiously optimistic, hinting that perhaps Stefanski sees a larger picture that the rest of us simply can't comprehend yet. The rumors started trickling in earlier today, but now they've exploded across every major sports outlet and fan forum. Everyone is asking the same questions. Who's next? How will the locker room react? Can Cleveland survive this shock without losing its competitive edge? The narrative is evolving minute by minute, and one thing is clear. The Browns have just changed the conversation around their season completely. What makes this move even more sensational is the timing. The NFL is in a delicate phase of the season, and cutting a player of this caliber, a proven performer who has consistently delivered in high-pressure games, is almost unheard of. The buzz is that Stefanski didn't even wait for the usual league protocols to play out. The decision was swift, almost surgical, and insiders suggest it was driven by a combination of analytics, gut feeling, and perhaps a desire to shake up a roster that Stefanski felt was stagnating. Social media erupted immediately. Hashtags started trending within minutes, and fans began dissecting every possible reason for the move. Pundits on major sports networks were practically scrambling to provide context, but even they admitted the decision felt unprecedented. Some veteran analysts are calling it the NFL's equivalent of a seismic shift, noting that it's rare for a team to release a player of this standing without a clear public explanation. The mystery is part of what has the rumor mill spinning at full throttle. Every sports insider seems to have a different take, and every fan has an opinion louder than the next. The player in question, whose identity sources are protecting for now, but whose impact on the team can hardly be overstated, was reportedly blindsided by the news. Within locker rooms and training facilities, whispers suggest that morale might take a hit. Yet Stefanski seems unfazed. He's always been known as a coach who prioritizes the long-term vision over short-term appeasement. Observers are now speculating that this could be the opening move in a series of strategic adjustments that might redefine how the Browns approach their games for the rest of the season. The NFL, in turn, is reacting immediately. Rival teams are reportedly recalibrating their own strategies, perhaps sensing an opening in what was once considered one of the most stable and formidable lineups in the league. The ripple effects are only beginning. The trade market, free agency chatter, and even fantasy football discussions are all now colored by this single, shocking cut. Sports talk shows are already devoting entire segments to theorizing why Stefanski would take such a bold step, and former players are weighing in with strong opinions, some supportive, some skeptical, and some downright incredulous. Fans are reacting in real time, and the range of emotions is staggering. Some are devastated, pointing to the player's track record, leadership, and ability to rally the team in crucial moments. Others are cautiously optimistic, thinking that maybe this is exactly the jolt the Browns need to shake off complacency and surprise the league. Online, memes are flying, debates are raging, and every forum from Reddit to Twitter is lit up with theories and hot takes. One thing is certain, this is not just a roster change. This is a story that could define Stefanski's career. Will this be remembered as a stroke of genius or a monumental miscalculation? History has a way of deciding, but right now, the NFL is captivated. Commentators are noting that the boldness of the move might actually set a precedent. In a league where players are often untouchable due to fame, contracts, and performance metrics, Stefanski's decision signals a new era of accountability and ruthless prioritization. The financial implications are also worth noting. Cutting a high-profile player comes with salary cap ramifications, potential bonuses, and ripple effects on future contracts. Analysts are already projecting how this will influence the Browns' next moves in the transfer market. Could this be a prelude to signing a big name, or is Stefanski betting on internal talent to step up and fill the void? Nobody knows for sure, but the possibilities are endless, and the speculation is creating a kind of fever pitch around the team. It's almost cinematic. A coach making a gut-wrenching decision, a key player departing, and the league collectively holding its breath to see what unfolds next. Even casual NFL watchers are now glued to headlines, drawn in by the drama and the sheer audacity of the move. The timing, again, can't be overstated. This comes at a point where momentum is everything. The Browns were on a trajectory that many thought was solid but unspectacular, and now everything has shifted. Other teams are likely taking mental notes. Rival coaches might be thinking, if Stefanski can make a move like this, maybe we need to be prepared for anything. Meanwhile, Cleveland fans are divided. Some are mourning the loss of a beloved player, reminiscing about clutch plays and unforgettable moments. Others are rallying behind Stefanski, trusting his vision and hoping that this shock will translate into a stronger, more unpredictable team. The narrative isn't just about a single player being cut. It's about authority, trust, strategy, and the ever-shifting power dynamics of professional football. Insiders suggest that the locker room atmosphere immediately after the announcement was tense. Some players reportedly expressed frustration or disbelief, while others seemed to silently accept the coach's authority, perhaps recognizing that this is the kind of bold leadership that can either make or break a season. In the background, front office staff are working overtime to manage communications, media inquiries, and fan expectations. The NFL as a whole is watching, perhaps trying to anticipate whether this is the start of a trend. Could we see other teams following suit? The rumor mill is now suggesting that this single cut could spark a wave of roster recalibrations across the league. Executives, coaches, and even analysts are all speculating. Is this a one-off, or is Stefanski pioneering a new philosophy of bold, decisive action that could redefine coaching standards in the NFL? In the midst of this chaos, the player's future is a subject of intense speculation. Other teams are reportedly already inquiring about potential trades or signings. The rumor mill is alive with talk of where he might land, how much impact he could still have, and whether he will find a team that appreciates his talents, or if this controversial exit will overshadow his accomplishments. The media frenzy surrounding the story ensures that no detail will go unnoticed. Every interview, every social media post, every cryptic quote could fuel the narrative further. It's a story that will unfold over days, weeks, and perhaps the rest of the season, with implications that extend far beyond Cleveland. And while fans and analysts debate, Stefanski remains the focal point. His boldness, his willingness to make a high-stakes decision, and his calm under pressure are being dissected from every angle. Some say he's reinventing the role of a modern NFL coach. Others say he's taking a gamble that could haunt him for years. But for now, all eyes remain on Cleveland, all ears tuned to every press conference, and every rumor amplifying across the NFL community. The fallout has begun, and there's no turning back. One thing is certain. This move has sparked one of the most dramatic and talked about moments in recent NFL history, a moment that will dominate sports headlines, fan conversations, and league speculation for a long time to come. Thanks for riding with us on another Browns Blitz. If you liked the video, share it with a fellow fan, hit subscribe, and ring that bell so you're always part of the Dawg Pound conversation. Go Browns!